Welcome to an audio experience that will pique your curiosity and soothe your soul. Join Dr. Dee Evans, your host, as she creates a space for women from all walks of life to reflect upon their life experiences with topics that range from love, spirituality, and pop culture. These discussions will engage and support you on your journey of wholeness and freedom. Welcome to the Hey Sis podcast.
Hey everyone, and welcome to the Hey Sis podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in. I so appreciate you. We're going to talk about breaking your oversharing habit. I said it, breaking your oversharing habit. Now, I'm well aware that this podcast is basically one giant overshare in some aspects, but go with me here. Ask yourself, when was the last time that you found yourself in an uncomfortable conversation because someone shared too much information to you? Do you remember how that felt? Okay, second question. When was the last time you shared too much information and then you found yourself in an uncomfortable situation? Maybe you blurted out something personal to a coworker. I hate when women say stuff like, TMI, I'm PMSing. Girl, I don't need to know when you're bleeding. What are you talking about? Ugh, where is Blade when you need him? I can't. Perhaps you blurted something to a stranger and then afterwards you felt regret, you felt shame, you felt embarrassment. That's the fruit of oversharing because you only share intimate details with people who you're intimate with. You can't put that expectation on people that you're not intimate with, but we'll get there. So whether you want to realize it or not, if you're an oversharer, you can call it being transparent if you want to. You can call it being authentic if you want to. Oversharing is a problem, and it's a habit that lonely people fall into, and it's a harmful habit. It's harmful to our reputation. It's harmful to our relationships. And I mean relationships that are both personal and professional. I live my life now based on anything you say can be used against you. Or also I live my life by, I want to remind you that this is a recorded line. Okay. Everything is being recorded in people's mental headspace. Anything you say will be used against you at the appropriate time, and it will be measured for quality assurance and authentication purposes. Okay? So, if you're wondering what exactly oversharing is, it can have many forms, but I think that it boils down to disclosing an inappropriate amount of details about your personal life. And it's often to the wrong person or persons at the wrong time. Now, individuals overshare for attention, for validation, for love. And sometimes it's just out of habit. If you come from an oversharing family, you think it's normal. Regardless of that reason, oversharing is a harmful habit that can really lead to consequences that are unnecessary. Like I have an aunt who overshares about her bathroom habits, meaning about a bodily function that she does often. And we were at a family get-together, and I counted how many times she mentioned that she pooped. Now, the family shenanigan, the get-together, surrounds food and children, and also men, so it's not just women, so let's be clear. And she mentioned about her bodily habits 10 times within a 2-hour time span. And when I tell you, I was confused. But I started counting because I wanted to realize when she was talking about the poop. Like, we'll be talking about, remember when we went to Carowinds as a family? Oh, that was so great. Oh yeah, I pooped 3 times the other day. I mean, out of nowhere. And I realized, oh my God, she wants attention. You 60 years old and you have resorted to talking about your bodily function of pooping as a means to get attention in your family. Wow. It's a lot going on. And I use this example because you can probably identify one of your family members that does that if you aren't the family member that does it. Let's be honest. Like I said, oversharing is usually done for attention, validation. As I also mentioned, oversharing can have harmful consequences. And one of those consequences is damaging relationships. Because when you overshare, you open yourself up to judgment and criticism from others. I tend to undershare because I am very aware that everyone that speaks to me doesn't love me. I don't mean that in a way where I believe all people are evil, but I have learned that everything you say will be used for quality assurance and authentication purposes and can be used to prove an opinion of you that is based on foolishness or envy or jealousy. And anything can be believed if the right person says it with the right lens. And because you shared an inch, people will take a mile. And so there are certain things, actually there are most things, I only share with people who are extremely close to me. And even they don't really get the full narrative anymore. It's just me, the Lord, and his angels and saints. Okay? Everybody doesn't need to live like that. Don't live like that. As for me and my house, I'm just gonna keep a lot to myself. And I have thrived because of that. Nevertheless, oversharing opens you up in a space where everything you say is judged. Because remember, oversharing is weird and awkward. So when you overshare, people begin to judge you. You are going to be the topic of conversation. So I know a girl that is very aware that people have talked about her, like talked about her essence, who she is, what she looks like, her clothes. They just laughed at her. And once I started talking to her and getting to know her, I realized, okay, they're laughing because you shared too much about yourself and now you've opened yourself up to criticism. So yes, they're wrong for laughing about you in your face and behind your back, but also you create a precedence that's toxic. Like they don't know you, they don't like you. Why did you share that? But again, the need for validation is real. The need for community is real, right? And when you overshare, you become very vulnerable to manipulation and exploitation. If you share too much with someone, they will start to use that information against you. They'll start to use that information to manipulate you for their own personal gain. When my daddy died, I was going to say a derogatory word. Okay, let me change that. When my father died, there were a plethora of Homo sapiens that were males that attempted to play upon that void in my heart. And they thought they were going to be daddy. Weird. But guess what D did? I think in my blog, because I have a website, y'all know that, thedevans.com. I blogged a lot about my journey because my release is writing. It is. My release is writing without a filter. If you check my phone right now, I have the most filterless thoughts. That's how I release. It just is. And in that season of my life, I released through my writing. And I thought I was very restrained with it. But I think that I wrote just enough for people to make insinuations. And they thought that what I was sharing or / oversharing was an opportunity for them to be zaddy. And you can't be zaddy with no 401k. You can't be zaddy in a Pinto for me. I'm not interested in having a scrub. Okay? So that did open me up to unnecessary conversations. And then, of course, I'm mean and rude because I don't want to give zaddy a chance. when Zaddy barely has money to pay his phone bill in order to direct message me. Honey, I am expensive, okay? I am a habit, okay? Anyway, manipulation, exploitation, fruits of oversharing. Now, oversharing also has negative consequences on your mental health and your emotional health, because when you constantly share your problems with others, you'll create more problems. And I don't mean the ones that revolve around slander and gossip. I mean the problems of anxiety and the problem of you feeling isolated and ashamed. Because remember, in cases of oversharing, there's not established intimacy. So these people don't have your best interests in heart. You just out here talking. Like you looking real crazy out here. And again, most of the times of oversharing, you know when you went too far. And the person's looking at you like, oh my God, why did they just tell me that? It's uncomfortable. I am the worst person to overshare to, because oversharers want validation. They want you to also share information that's very transparent, and I don't do that. So you can tell me everything your ex-husband did to you, and I'm just going to look at you and be like, wow. And then I'm going to awkwardly change the conversation. Actually, at this point in my life, I'm just going to walk off and be like, oh my God, I hope they don't add me on Facebook, or oh my God, I got to find a way to block them, because I don't want to continue this. And also, I don't want you to feel like you just established this relationship with me. Like, I am too introverted for this. I did not ask for these problems. Help me, right? For ministry leaders, it's really hard to converse with someone who overshares, because they think that they need to tell you this because they think God has anointed you. I don't care how anointed I will ever be. Please don't overshare with me. Please leave me alone. Leave me alone. But there are moments I know people are looking for help and looking for prayer, right? But people overshare in a way that makes everybody uncomfortable, including me, God, Jesus, Holy Spirit. It's weird, okay? So I know that it could be difficult to stop oversharing, but the shame that comes with it, the isolation that comes with it, it's not worth it. Again, when you overshare, you're sharing with people that don't have shared intimacy with you. So you are left looking and feeling dumb. So the answer is to not keep doing it. Don't overshare in hopes that someone's going to see you. That's weird. The more you resort to it, the harder the habit is to break. So how do you know you're oversharing? You tell people things that they don't need to know, or that you wouldn't typically want them to know about you. You share information that's too personal in times of stress because you don't know how else to manage it. You overshare, or a way you know you overshare is if you bring up sensitive topics that you tend to regret later. Or you share intimate details about your life, whether with someone you can't trust, a total stranger, or someone that isn't the right person to confide in. The enemy loves catching you off guard. When you're in stressful situations, when the people you love have turned on you, your best bet is to shut up. Go book an appointment with a therapist. They are legally bound to shut up. Go book an appointment with one of them. But the problem with venting to other people is that them vents go in other rooms. And so you've got to be extremely careful about who you share your stuff with. Everybody can't handle it. Even in this social media driven world, it's easy to fall into the trap of oversharing, to the extent if you don't overshare, people think that there's something wrong with you. Think about it. With the click of a button, you can share your every thought with the world. Some of y'all do it. It's weird. We've grown more accustomed to witnessing a lack of boundaries. And I think it has contributed to our lack of cognitive, well, our ability to reason inductively and deductively. I think there is a rise of a cognitive decline amongst adults. I mean, the ability to problem solve, it feels like it's just completely declining, especially within my age group. Like, I'm going to be honest. Some conversations I go, what in the world are you talking about? And I blame social media. I blame applause culture. I blame the likes and the shares and the follows. I blame this era. But it's never going away. It's just going to be built upon. I hope y'all know that. Now for others, I know you feel like oversharing or sharing intimate details of your life can be empowering and freeing. And I would add that the only reason it's empowering is because somebody's listening and watching. If no one listened to you vent, you wouldn't do it. You like the attention. You like the applause. Oversharing can also be a coping mechanism for stress or untreated trauma. It also can be a cry for help. Have you ever seen someone post a Facebook picture, like a selfie, and you immediately know something's off? Listen, you don't have to have discerning of spirits to know something is off. Because when someone takes a selfie, you're supposed to be cute. Like, this is thirst trap city, okay? And if you take a selfie and you look destitute, but you still posted it, so I don't know what's happening. Like, I'm quick to be confused, and then I will unfollow you so that I can keep my mind in perfect peace. Also, individuals that post when they're crying and going through suicidal moments, it is a cry for attention. I saw a post the other day with someone that I don't know, so I don't know why we're friends, but anyway, and I mean friends on Facebook. He's like, I'm going to end it all. And he posts a picture of him crying, and I'm like, you're going to end it after you post it? You're going to end it after you get through commenting on everyone's like post up underneath here? This is weird to me. If you were like extreme level suicidal, you wouldn't have posted that. This is a cry for help. This is a cry for attention, and y'all are feeding it rather than sincerely like, okay, bruh, let's get you some help outside social media. This is toxic. Like, don't you have a job? Like, do you have kids? Like, do you have a wife? This is embarrassing. It's just... Social media, in my opinion, exposes our need for mental health resources. I think I'm going to put together like a go-to sheet for therapists that are local because it's needed. Deliverance is needed. Jesus, hallelujah, he's needed. But therapy is also needed. When we overshare, we seek validation and reassurance from others. Of course, we want to know that we aren't alone in our experiences. We feel a sense of, honestly, control and belonging by disclosing certain events or aspects of our lives. And there is a point to where it's not overshare. It's just testimony, right? But there's not a thin line. It's not a thin line between testimony and overshare. It's a very thick black line. It's clear. So to break that habit of oversharing, I would suggest becoming more aware. It's a thick line between processing your emotions to find a sense of peace and then disclosing too much because you lack it. And while there's nothing wrong with seeking support from other people, oversharing can inadvertently interfere with your ability to cope in healthy ways. To break it, pay attention to the patterns of when you feel the need to overshare. Is it anxiety induced? Right? And be aware of what personal information you share with others and in what scenarios. If you find yourself spilling out your problems when you're tired, when you're stressed in the morning, when a certain person asks you questions, you know you're triggered. Take a step back, pause, right? Another way you can break that habit of oversharing is being overly mindful of your audience. Ask yourself when you're talking to this person, are they a friend? Have they proven that I can trust them? What purpose will me sharing this piece of information serve? That's what you need to ask yourself. Also, I just mentioned this, consider the reason why you're oversharing. Are you talking just to be talking? Are you talking to seek advice? If so, preface it with that. Like, instead of saying, hey, I thought about leaving my husband last night. Instead of just blurting that out, asking your friend, hey, are you open to having a conversation with me that's very intimate and close to my heart? I don't really want you to judge me, but I really have no one else to talk to. If that person says, sure, I want to help you, tell me what's going on, go for it. But if that person says, hey, I'm not in a space, or even if that person interrupts you when you get to the point where you say, hey, I thought about leaving my husband, and they go, wait, this is a boundary I'm not ready to cross. I don't think we can talk about that. Be okay with it and process it. Don't negate the power of a therapist. I will advocate for this forever and ever. A therapist is a person you can lean on and you can be honest with. Therapy doesn't work if you're not honest, by the way. It's a lot of people in therapy for a mask of who they really are. You've got to go to therapy and be honest. And then also, to break that habit of oversharing, find ways to manage your emotions. Exercise, eat, go outside, writing, drawing, singing. Creative expression can fill so many gaps. But I believe creative expression is more soothing than talking to someone that can't help you. Like I said, there are people trained to listen. There are people trained to offer advice. Therapists, psychiatrists, counselors, life coaches. Okay? But sometimes friends, they're not ready for the weight that you carry. And that doesn't mean they're not a good friend. It means they are not equipped to carry the burden. And honestly, you aren't either. Every burden needs to go to the Lord. But maybe they aren't equipped to help you process it. And that's okay. And you have to be okay with that. With the skill of being mindful and using the gift of self-control and using boundaries, you can learn how to use your words well. You can learn how to converse well and not feel shame afterwards. It's possible. And on the flip side, if you are the person where people overshare, because I'm an introvert, so when people dump things on me, I feel it. I physically feel it. Like sometimes I get nauseous or I start looking for a way of escape immediately. Like I gotta go right now. I can't take it. If you are that person, it is okay to communicate that you cannot handle what they're saying right now. Or, hey, I understand this is tough. I'm not able to give to you what you seek. It may be best if you talk to someone else about this. Communicating that clearly. Now, I've communicated that clearly before, and someone kept trying to talk to me about something. I said, no. And it resulted in them being blocked. And let's be honest, me blocking you from social media isn't like killing you. It's just social media, baby. This is not the Matrix, okay? But if you go too far to the left, let me rephrase that. If people go too far left with the oversharing to the point that they're trying to track you down and share things with you, what they said, what they did, how I feel, blah, blah, blah. It's okay to protect your peace, to protect your privacy. And I pray for you that you understand how important your peace is. And there's peace in not oversharing, and there's peace in not being the recipient of someone who overshares. Holiness revolves around boundaries. 2024, we are expecting God to exceed our expectations. But in return, I want not just my body to be a temple of the Lord. I want my headspace to glorify Him. I want the peace that I've created, like in my house, the tranquility, the solitude. I want that to glorify Him. That's a goal of mine. And if it's not your goal, that's fine. I'm just telling you what I prioritize in this season. And a part of being a part of this podcast as the host, I just want to facilitate a space to where I ask questions that I might not know the concrete answer to. But I do want to facilitate a internal conversation that you can have with yourself so that you can show up every day being the woman of God, but also being emotionally and mentally healthy to serve in whatever capacity, at your job, with your spouse, with your friends, that you're present, that when you show up, there's no baggage attached. It's pure, it's loving. And oversharing can kind of dim that light. So my prayer for you is that you live and you walk into this year pure and free and ready to defend that freedom. Thank y'all for listening. I appreciate you. Send me your comments and thoughts. Email me at contact@theDEvans. And I can't wait till our next episode. See you soon. Bye.
Thank you for listening to the Hey Sis podcast. Continue the conversation by visiting www.thedevans.com and follow us for more updates.